super mutants aren't always known for their intelligence.
Ooh, Harry confused. You not ghoul, you not normal. What you?
That's not to say some of them don't rival humans in terms of faculties, but there is a handful that surpasses them entirely.
You know, I actually doubted my officers when they said they'd captured a prime normal. It is so nice to see you.
While it's easy to imagine which mutants are the smartest in terms of lore, the results when using in-game stats might surprise you. Similar to Kaisar being dumber than a mole rat, obviously that isn't true based on his achievements, but the game stats says otherwise, and that's why I'm going to use them to keep you guessing throughout the video, and hopefully make it a bit more fun. In Fallout 1, 84 years after the Great War, super mutants are the Master's chosen ones, created using the forced evolutionary virus inside the Mariposa military base. These are some of the finest super mutants to ever walk the Earth, thanks to the Master's insight that humans with little or no radiation damage made the most successful subjects, and the Lieutenant's conclusion that failed mutations in relatively healthy humans were caused by an inoculating effect from the mutated strain of FEV released during the Great War. Together, they focused on collecting Vault Dwellers, humans with no radiation exposure, and no trace of the mutated virus either. Earlier super mutants were less intelligent, but the majority were superior to humans in more ways than one. They were stronger, resistant to radiation, and more intelligent, with the Lieutenant, or Lou-tenant, being the best and brightest of the bunch. This is one of the rare instances where lore matches in-game stats, as Lieutenant is the right hand of the Master and the commander of Mariposa, with an intelligence rating of 8, the highest of all the super mutants in Fallout 1. In Fallout 2, 80 years after Fallout 1, remnants of the Unity have gone their separate ways. Some became raiders, others joined the NCR Rangers, or found new communities where humans and mutants coexist, such as Broken Hills, where you can find Marcus, the sheriff. Surprisingly, Marcus is not the most intelligent mutant in Fallout 2. Lore-wise, he probably is, but thanks to the game stats, it's actually a more recent super mutant. Once again, Mariposa is the source of these new mutants, a second generation. However, the results are less impressive. Most of them are significantly less intelligent than their predecessors, yet one stands above the rest, and his existence was never meant to happen. This man was already unusually large. He once served as the personal bodyguard of President Dick Richardson, until an undocumented psychotic episode saw him reassigned to Wasteland Patrol duty. It was during one of these patrols that he came into contact with the forced evolutionary virus at Mariposa, and soon after, he mutated into a super mutant. Despite the Enclave's hatred for mutants, he was brought to Control Station Enclave for study. For years, Colonel Dr. Charles Curling used him as a test subject, experimenting with modified strains of FEV. The result was a one-of-a-kind super mutant. When there was nothing left to learn, he was deployed back into the wasteland. He became the deadliest super mutant to ever live, more machine than mutant, but still a mutant nonetheless. And by now, you probably know his name is Frank Horrigan.
You've gotten a lot farther than you should have, but then you haven't met Frank Horrigan either. Your ride's over, Mutie. Time to die.
While the lore suggests he was a few sandwiches short of a roadside picnic, the in-game stats describe him as the perfect being, with 10s across the board, including intelligence, making him one of the most intelligent super mutants in the entire series. In Fallout Tactics, 40 years after the Master first created them, super mutants can be found living in the Midwest. They are generally strong but rather stupid. Their leader, Gamoran, without the Master's guidance to follow, fled east, taking many mutants with him. However, after being lambasted by Paladin Latham, who became the new Gamoran, the OG Gamoran was no more, so his stats are not available. But out of every named super mutant in the game, the smartest is a prisoner called Sebastian.
Gamoran was right. The robot menace must be put down. You must be here for that very purpose. Gamoran had a Brotherhood saying, "There is strength in numbers." I will not doubt him again, and I will seek out my lord when I am done here.
Sebastian was captured by the Calculator's robots and kept in Scott City. While he wasn't smart enough to avoid capture, he is the smartest out of all the mutants in Fallout Tactics, with an intelligence rating of 8, which is pretty high. Next is Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. Unfortunately, the game doesn't have the same stats as the others, so we don't have a position for smartest mutant, but lore-wise it's probably Attis, who's described as a highly intelligent super mutant. He used to be a commander in the Unity, and after the Master was defeated by the Vault Dweller, he created Attis's army from the remnants and continued the Master's plan. He's probably on par with Lieutenant, but that's pure speculation, as game stats can change from game to game, such as Marcus, who had 7 intelligence in Fallout 2 and then 3 intelligence in Fallout New Vegas. And since I cannot determine who is actually the smartest, I'm gonna pretend it doesn't exist, like most people, and move on to the next one. In Fallout 3, super mutants were created inside Vault 87, using a modified strain of FEV. This strain created mutants that continue growing as they age, leading to an uptick of behemoths in the DC area. This strain is different to the FEV mentioned thus far, and as such the mutants are also different, with the most clear distinction being their low intelligence. Yet they are smart enough to use weapons, fashion armor, and seek out the green stuff, or FEV, to make more mutants. Although, due to the humans they use being surface dwellers riddled with radiation, the resultant mutants are anything but special. Most minds would go to Forks being the most intelligent, but with how long he was trapped, his mind fractured, leaving him with an intelligence rating of just 3. As for the most intelligent super mutant in Fallout 3, that title goes to Uncle Leo.
I tried to get them to understand that there was more to life than fighting and killing, but they wouldn't listen.
Like the others in DC, Leo came from Vault 87. He sees himself as a pacifist, he enjoys nature, talking to people, and giving them gifts. And it was these preferences that led to him being exiled from Vault 87. While the mutant certainly is the sweetest out of all of the DC mutants, he is a bit forgetful. He doesn't know how he came to be called Uncle Leo, but he ponders if it was his name before becoming a mutant, or perhaps it came from a book, showing us he can read, and that's reflected with his intelligence rating of 5. Quite low down compared to the others, but still high enough for him to be the smartest super mutant in DC. In Fallout New Vegas, 4 years after Fallout 3, we once again have mutants created by the Master and the Enclave. We already know who the smartest mutants were in those games, but those mutants have since perished, and the title is up for grabs. After the collapse of Unity, many mutants went in search of a new Master. Others became their own, like Marcus. We already know Marcus has an intelligence rating of 3 in Fallout New Vegas, and many super mutants, such as Mean Son of a Bitch, have a higher intelligence stat than 3, so it's sadly not Marcus. However, for the first time in the video, the smartest super mutant is a super mutant Nightkin. Nightkin were the elite super mutants created by the Master. They didn't always look this way. Constant use of Stealth Boy technology altered their skin pigmentation, turning them from their original green to a bluish hue. This stealth technology also led to the mutants developing severe mental instability, among a myriad of other health issues. The Master, who was psychic, used to speak to the Nightkin using telepathy. They grew accustomed to hearing his voice, and without it, they pretty much lost their minds, hearing voices that weren't truly there and experiencing DID. Lily and Leo, Tabitha and Rhonda, Davison and Antler, you get the idea. But the one I want to focus on, because they are the smartest super mutants in Fallout New Vegas, can only be found in the Dead Money DLC. Now, we don't know much about this particular Nightkin. He was a part of Unity, physically linked to the Master, conditioned to slavishly serve until death. Only without the Master he lost his mind and sought out someone else to listen to, Father Elijah. That's pretty much all you need to know about this Nightkin, with the last thing being he has two identities, Dog and God. Dog is subservient, he willingly aids Elijah, while God is independent. He wants to move on and be free from Elijah's exploitation of Dog's obedience, and it's that independent nature that's caused him to be the more intelligent of the two identities. Dog only has 3 intelligence, the same as Marcus, if you can believe it, while God has an intelligence rating of 5. Quite low, but more than enough to be the smartest super mutant in Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout 4, 6 years after Fallout New Vegas, we're back on the East Coast with a new strain of super mutants, created by the Institute. These mutants are the byproduct of their research into Generation 3 synths, later dumped topside for the surface dwellers to deal with. Now outside, they formed unique tribes, displaying some level of intelligence, similar to the mutants from Vault 87, using weapons and armor, as well as taming mutant hounds, so they are quite smart, at least lore-wise, as most mutants are brain-dead according to game stats, either having 0 or 1 intelligence. Other mutants are better off, like Erickson with 5 intelligence, and Strong with 6. Even so, this isn't enough to take the top spot. That goes to Brian Virgil. Virgil used to work at the Institute's Bioscience Division, experimenting with an unknown strain of FEV. When the project lead passed away, Virgil was promoted, and with his help they created many super mutants, the same mutants now found on the surface. After a while, he realized that all of their hard work was for nothing. They were simply turning captured wastelanders into super mutants, and the results were nothing of value. Feeling guilty, he destroyed the lab and the research, infected himself with FEV, and abandoned the Institute. As a mutant, Virgil headed for the glowing sea, the high levels of radiation of no concern to his new body. While the escape attempt was admirable, the Institute knew where he was and sent Kellogg to kill him, a mission he never completed thanks to the sole survivor. Now Virgil is the smartest super mutant in Fallout 4 with an intelligence rating of 10. He has this regardless of form, and this is another rare example of the game stats matching lore, as Virgil is intelligent enough to turn himself back into a human if given the chance to do so. In Fallout 76, 25 years after the Great War, there's unbelievably super mutants roaming around. Created shortly before the Great War, when the Westech research facility in Appalachia contaminated the river that ran through Huntersville. This is another strain of FEV, and the mutants should be more unique than they are. But they are pretty much identical to the ones found in Fallout 4, travelling in small, well-organised groups, using weapons and armour, and attack hounds too. In terms of stats, I couldn't find any. Graham has 0 intelligence despite running his own business. I couldn't even find Gale's stats, but hers are probably the same as Graham's. And what's more shocking is Edgar Blackburn, a former Westech scientist experimenting with FEV inside of Vault 96, also has 0 intelligence, reinforcing how important it is to understand that these stats are not canon. But this is going to be another DQ, as all mutants seem to have the same level of intelligence, 0. With that said, we're at the end of the road, and there's only 2 super mutants with 10 intelligence, the maximum that can be achieved, meaning the smartest super mutants in the entire series, at least according to game stats, are Frank Horrigan and Brian Virgil, 2 people from the most technologically advanced factions in the entire series. Let me know how many you managed to guess correctly, which mutant took you by surprise, and out of them all, who among them deserves the top spot, and why is it Marcus?